Francis,
Adam,
here to tell some more stories. You got some more stories to tell?
I think I'm ready.
That's great because I always have more coffee to drink and roast, and I am enjoying the leftover. You can barely see it because I've been drinking all of this Mukarimu washed Kenyan coffee. It's an AA. That's a whole mouthful of things that I need to explain as a coffee professional, but
Yeah.
this coffee has been sitting around for 30 minutes or so, and it is like syrupy watermelon, dried cranberry. It is just fantastic. Now, where does coffee come from, and what's it all about? What is Mukarimu, and what is Kenyan coffee specifically from Mukarimu? What's that all about?
So, Mukarimu coffee, let me first of all backtrack you.
Let's spell it
Mukarimu.
Mukarimu.
Yeah, and the way we just spelled it out is 4 generations in a family.
Mukarimu.
Yeah, Mu is the great-great-grandfather, Ka, great-grandfather, Ri, the father, and then the son. 4 generations.
Wow.
Right there.
All right.
And that's how he named his farm. The funniest thing, it's also, if you tell somebody in Swahili, they'll think that you're saying humility.
Humility.
Yeah.
So Mukarimu sounds like...
Yeah, Mukarimu sounds like Karimu, which means he's a humble person in Swahili. So that people confuse that all the time.
This guy's a marketing genius. I gotta get in touch with this guy.
Yeah, so it was amazing that that we were able to meet the Mukarimu farm. The owner, his name is Charles Mutweri, and that's the MU on the last.
Charles Mutweri.
Yeah, Charles Mutweri.
So I grew up on an American farm, and there'd be like 100 acres out back, and we'd drive our combines, and we'd plant the corn and the soybeans, and then we'd wait, and we'd harvest it with a big machine, right? So is that what it's like growing coffee at Mukarimu farm?
Oh man, I wish it was. The history of Charles. Charles is an amazing farmer. I love him not because he's an amazing man. So first of all, he's an amazing man. And then he just happens to be a great farmer with a person who has a lot of passion for his community. And Charles inherited 150 coffee trees from his father. Which is the RI, which is Rintigua. Yeah. Okay. So he inherited, and then and that was in the 70s. Today, he has 17,000 coffee trees.
17,000?
Yes.
So he took 150 and he planted and grew more trees.
Yeah, he planted and grew more trees, and actually all this coffee comes from 10 different farms.
Okay.
So small farms. So it's not like a combine harvester. So it's like, in total, they come to 33 acres.
Okay, and this is in the Rift Valley.
No, actually, this one is in Meru region.
Meru. This is not in the Rift Valley.
No, this one is not in the Rift Valley. This one is the Meru region, and the Meru region is on the eastern side of Mount Kenya.
Okay.
Yeah. So
then we've got these mountains, and is it one mountain that's growing all this Mukarimu, or is it a couple different hillsides?
No, actually, it's a mountain bigger than any mountain in the U.S.
Because
it's
hard to measure mountains.
Yeah, it's 5,000. Mount Kenya is 5,800 meters above sea level. So we are talking about
5,800 meters above sea level.
Yeah,
that's like 10,000 feet.
More than 10,000. Yeah, I don't know the conversion for that, but I know it's 5,000. Yeah, that is huge, and this mountain sits in the middle of Kenya.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a huge mountain that sits in the middle of Kenya on the eastern side, which is the windward side.
Right.
And then you have the leeward side.
Right.
So the leeward side is towards that's what we call the western region of coffee. And that coffee comes out.
That would be the Rift Valleys on the
that would be the Rift Valley, that would be the central Kenya region. And then you have the eastern region, which is the Meru region, and also the Machakos area and the Taita Hills. And that's where you get the coffees from this. And these two regions, the most interesting thing, because of how the mountain is and the side of the wind, they get different rainfalls.
Oh, totally different.
Yeah. So you have 2 different climates, and these climates allow these crops to germinate differently. So you have the main crop that comes out in June from Meru on the eastern side, and then you have the main crop that comes on the western side in December.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for anyone who's not a coffee professional or like me needs to go and grab their map, their geography book. Let's bring it back to Mukarimu.
Yeah, let's bring it back to Mukarimu. I just needed to bring that in there because Kenya is very complex. It's
I'm
like
learning,
a micro.
I'm learning all the time here.
Yeah, it's like a micro. It has microclimates.
We call these microclimates. Yeah.
So now, Mukarimu, Charles Motweri has these 10 farms, and what really attracted us to Mukarimu is to Charles Motweri is that we went to him because we wanted to test out an idea. We wanted to see if we can be able to create economic prosperity through coffee. How can we be able to do it? Does coffee make economic sense? That was our thesis, our question. Does coffee make economic sense? Because if it doesn't, then we have to figure out how to make economic sense. So we went to Mukarimu, to Charles with his idea. And it is in that process that we started talking about cost of production.
Cost of production.
Yeah, cost of production.
Yeah.
And we started thinking, how do we make you not a coffee farmer, but a coffee businessman? Because you are involved in the trade of coffee. And if we continue calling you a farmer, then we are doing a disservice to you. Yeah, because you're in the business of coffee.
But everywhere I go, all my specialty coffee shops, it's all about coffee farmers and, we don't talk about coffee businessmen.
Yeah, but
sometimes we think like businessmen are bad and farmers are good.
Yes, and
I love that story because I'm a farm boy. But you're absolutely right. My father is a businessman.
Yes.
Like he wakes up and he looks at the stock market. He checks the commodity prices. He buys future contracts. Like he's just a farmer in Michigan working the stock market.
Exactly.
Right? To sell soybeans and corn. So that's a great shift.
That's something we wanted to bring that to Kenya, was to bring to the farmers. Can you wake up in the morning and look at the coffee exchange in Kenya?
Yep.
And be able to make those decisions that you feel that are right.
Yeah.
And as well, can you understand your cost of production? So should you grow this crop or should you change tact in the way you do business? Because that's your livelihood right there.
Wow.
So we wanted to test this idea, but we also needed somebody we could trust and somebody who was open to us. And Charles, he has so much love for his community that he started a coffee project. It's called the Thura Coffee Project. And for him, they gave seedlings to a group of farmers that actually had stopped farming coffee.
Wow. So
to him, this would have been an answer for him, because is he leading people to prosperity or is he leading them to doom? So he also wanted to understand that. So we also had a shared, because you're giving 200 people coffee. What about it doesn't make sense? Then it comes back to you. You told me to plant this crop, but I cannot feed my family.
So you're implying a few things here that I want to unravel. You said before something like 30% of Kenya is involved in the coffee industry, which is almost 5 million people, right? And then Mukarimu, he grew his father's farm from 150 trees to 17,000 trees. But he didn't. I would automatically assume you give people trees and then that's going to be a good thing. But you said don't lead them to doom. Now, I know a lot about coffee growing where it takes maybe 3 or 4 years before you actually get a harvest from these little seedlings, right? So you're planting a tree that you are hoping in 4 years you're going to actually get a benefit from, right? And then, but at that time, you're not guaranteed to benefit. Like coffee farming is hard, or coffee farmers lose, like it's a bad thing to farm coffee?
Yes, because we are talking about this. It's not that these farmers never had coffee. They had coffee. That's a funniest thing, is that they had coffee. They had uprooted coffee.
Imported.
No, uprooted it.
They
uprooted the coffee all the way from the ground.
So people had land, they had coffee trees growing, and they ripped it out of the ground.
Yes. And now he's telling them,
put it back.
Put it back. So, and he had convinced them.
Wow.
He had convinced them that there is a way they can be able to succeed.
Wow.
The only thing is, even himself, at that moment, he was struggling. But he believed that the community was worse off without the coffee. And he believed in an idea that there's some way, somehow, he's going to meet somebody who's going to help. So he was buying those for, as you say, 4 years.
Right.
2017 is when he told them about the coffee. So here he is, 2018.
Wow.
He doesn't know anybody. 2017 come.
2017,
2018 he doesn't. 19, we meet with him.
Okay.
Now, for him, he's like, wow, I had only a very short time to make this reality.
Now he's got
so
his
we
community.
meet him, now we have people like Jamie Coffee is importing the coffee. We get connected with him, and now he starts seeing this.
Yeah, great.
But we started saying, now for you to be able to achieve these goals, these are the things that we have to look into for us to be able to make sure that those communities succeed.
Wow. So
it is that love and that passion, and then he gave us his piece of his coffee to be our experimental playground. So he opened up his books, everything that he does. And then because for us, that is what we were lacking.
So this is transparent business.
Yes, this transparency at the highest level. So he opens the books, we come in and we told him this is what we've been looking for. So we've been looking for this, for a person who will be like him. And then we meet him and he meets us. And then now we are looking at it, and then we had our ideas. We knew that for you to be profitable, we had a perception, an idea that you have to meet a certain yield per tree, and you have to meet certain parameters. So we are now making these numbers real.
Okay.
So it is at that point, now we did everything, and we did his cost of production, and then we did the 150 trees and gave out a number. And that's when he was like, oh, it can make sense.
So at 150 trees for one of these new, like he's trying to convince a new person in the community, you should plant 150 trees. And you guys have created a business model where that makes sense for someone to grow?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so already we have that model.
Right.
And so for us, it's like, it was just downloading the information we have now.
Wow.
And we're able to see that it works. And that's why we feel like Charles Motuari and his Mukarimu farm has been so instrumental for us to be able to change the way coffee is being done, to change these coffee farmers to be able to think like coffee businessmen.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't stop being, as you say, your father is still a farmer.
Oh, yeah.
But he thinks like a businessman.
Yeah.
A coffee farmer in Kenya doesn't think like a coffee businessman. We gotta make him think like a coffee businessman.
Right. Good. Yeah, a lot of, I think the expectation for any farmer is that this is just a person who professionally puts something in the dirt, and then it grows up, and then he picks it or pulls it, right, from the dirt, from the tree. But, and that would just be a farmer, like if you're just a farmer. But if you're a farmer business person, you have your unit economics, and that's kind of what you explained. Like that's a term that we use for understanding the cost of production, the time, the inputs, the labor, the taxes, the profit margins. Like you can work that down to every single input, every single tool, all the loss, right?
Yes.
And then you can see, okay, 150 trees, we're past our break-even analysis. We're actually making money. This is where people in the community can be empowered. And then there's probably benefit that comes from scale. So it's one thing to have 5 or 20 people in the community growing coffee. It's another thing to have 200 families growing coffee, right?
Exactly.
So that's really encouraging. I've talked to a lot of coffee businesses and cafes in America who haven't done that. Like they don't know, if I make a cappuccino, I use exactly 8.8 ounces of milk, and my milk, when I buy it at this price, costs this much. And then I use 1.5 pumps or 5 pumps of chocolate syrup, and every pump of chocolate syrup costs me this much. Like you can do that on a cappuccino or a mocha.
Yeah.
And you're saying you can do that. The Kenyan coffee business people now are learning how to do that.
Yeah, they're learning how to do that. And
in the Mukarimu, it's a co-op now, or it's a Meru growing region?
so we did that with him, and now we are taking this model and then applying to this community. We are calling it, they formed a group that's called the Thura Coffee Growers. So the 200 farmers formed a group called Thura Coffee Growers.
Thura,
Yeah,
coffee
Thura.
growers.
Yeah,
that's not the coffee I have here, is it?
No, it's
say,
that's from Kiambu, I think.
Kiambu, yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I was going to say I've seen Thura though. That was some of the coffee we roasted months ago.
Yes. So
I've seen that name on some of the coffee you brought by.
Yeah, and that is the reason why when you bring in a group like that, and then we tell, and this is the other thing that we did very differently. We told them, don't be a cooperative.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're telling people, then they'll be always told, be a cooperative to take advantage of scale.
Mm-hmm.
And we're telling them, don't be a cooperative. We want you to be a limited company. So now and this whole model goes back to business.
Right.
Because if you're a limited company, the government has less control over you. If you're a cooperative, there are cooperative laws in the government.
Oh, okay.
So you're not able to operate in
play by
very
different
small.
rules.
Yeah, you play by different rules and still do the same thing. So we're also teaching these farmers to be smarter.
Yeah.
And then as you have a limited company, then you can be able. What we are turning these people, the farmers, the 200 farmers, is shareholders.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they become shareholders, and their shareholding is their 150 coffee trees.
Okay. And if I plant 300 trees, I can have a double share?
You keep increasing your shareholding.
How can I join?
So, and for us, it's and this is a simple idea of community empowerment.
Yeah.
And that is how simple ideas come up with community
That's so
empowerment.
good, because so many people hear the word empowerment or, I don't know, business with an impact, and they think, well, every time I buy a cup of coffee, I'm going to give 10 cents to, the Meru community and just like handouts.
Yeah.
And then I hope that they spend it wisely, or I'm going to give it to some organization. So you guys, it doesn't sound like the mission or vision here is to sell a bunch of coffee to Americans and then send some money back to Kenya necessarily.
Yeah, for us, it's like we want something that we came up with equality. We want equality in the Kenyan coffee supply chain. And what we mean by that is that we invite the farmer now on the table as an equal partner.
Mm-hmm.
Because now the farmer is knowledgeable. He knows what needs to be done. And he's coming there and calling out for his fair share.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, what would happen is the farmer would sit back and wait for me to go sell the coffee and then go back to him. And that is the old system.
The old way.
Yeah, the old way.
Right. We've got a farmer over here. No one sees him.
Mm-hmm.
And you, an exporter, importer, you go and you buy a bunch of coffee and you negotiate to get the best price you can. And the farmer just has to take it.
Yes.
He can't just sit there and not feed his children. His children won't eat coffee.
No, they won't eat coffee. Yeah.
So he has to sell it to you. And then you come to a coffee roaster like me and you say, hey, I need to sell my coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And then I try to negotiate and get the lowest price out of you. And then maybe I sell it to people, or I sell it to, the grocery store, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's very different. And it reminds me of something that you've said before to me where, like we just said, not looking at the coffee farmer, like looking down at the coffee farmer, but looking at the coffee farmer, professional, coffee business person, right?
Yes.
And that's a whole different paradigm, I feel, compared to the way a lot of people think of farmers.
Yeah.
Right? They're this poor, uneducated, dirty, people who live in the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be true of me growing up in Michigan, working in the dirt. Like, people could look down on me as a boy. I'm not saying that my life is in any way compared with a Kenyan farmer.
Yes.
Like, I was so privileged and blessed. But you have this concept of kind of raising the position, seeing eye to eye with the farmer.
Yes.
Which is refreshing. Sorry. It's different than I've heard before.
Yeah, and that's for us. There are two ways. There's the old way.
Right.
Where we used to look down at the farmer.
Right.
And that was the extraction way. So we take the coffee, send it all the way, and the farmer gets nothing. And that system went on forever.
Well, and it
And
kind
now,
of creates pity.
yeah,
Right?
it kind of creates pity.
Like
And
I'm looking down, and so then I feel pity, and I want to help them out.
yeah, and that is what happened. Is like we used to look down at the farmer,
Right.
and then we extract. We were not even sorry about it.
Uh-huh.
And then, as you said, the other system, that the current system we have right now, which I kind of feel is also different, is that everybody, it's like reparations. Let's pay the farmer a lot more because he deserves more money.
You're saying the current system that happens so often in America and other developed nations that are buying coffee is that we've actually put the farmer up here.
Yes, now we put the farmer up here.
We're looking at the hardworking, suffering soul.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we feel like, oh, we need to give.
Pay more money.
Yeah. And we're not planning to bring
back.
that person to our level.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're not restoring that person to be able to say, we're going to bring you on our level. And that is what we are doing. It's like, we're going to bring you on our level. We're going to make you equal. We're going to make you understand this system so that this system does not take advantage of you.
Yeah.
Because that's the problem is that the system has always taken advantage of the farmers, or some of the farmers take advantage of the system. So
if they know they're up here, the farmer can take advantage of the roaster.
Exactly. So what if we bring it to a level where there's a common understanding?
Yeah.
So nobody's taking advantage of each other. We are just dealing with each other. So if I decide I'm not going to grow coffee as a coffee farmer, it is because I have made an economic case of why I should not grow coffee. I'm not blaming somebody else.
That's a responsible decision.
Yeah, it's a decision that I made myself.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, they don't pay enough for our coffee.
Right.
It is, I cannot live without coffee because A, B, C, D. 1 + 1 is not equal, is not coming to 2.
Right.
Yeah, it's not giving me a different number, and I don't want that number. So
it's kind of like me. If I'm 5'7", and so if I try to make a career out of playing basketball, I'm gonna be pretty bad at it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. And so you're saying like some people in Kenya should not be growing coffee. Like,
some people,
they're just not going to be good at it. But some people will be good at growing coffee as business people, and they could support their family and do well at it.
Yes.
You want to create that kind of an opportunity where
you're
not forced into it just because you're poor or you didn't get an education. So, you're a poor farmer, you have to grow coffee. No, it's actually something that you learn how to do, and it's a skill you develop, and there's a community of professionals that you join.
Yes, and you make also the intention. You make that you make decisions based on intentionality. Because whatever we are teaching the farmer is a very simple thing. It's just plug in your numbers.
Right.
You plug in the numbers, and then those numbers make sense to you. So if you decide, like a very good example, if your break-even point per coffee tree for yield is around 10 kilos, and you produce 3 kilos, then you have a gap of 7 kilos.
Yeah.
So you'll never be able to, coffee will never make sense to you.
Right.
So either you up it to those 10 kilos, or maybe there's an intervention, maybe by the government,
right,
to help you meet that level. But if you are constantly being driven to a point where you make 10 kilos, the intervention, you make 10 kilos, and then you fall back to 3 kilos, then I don't think at that moment you're a responsible businessman. You're not a responsible coffee farmer. You're not a responsible coffee, because you know why you're in. At this moment, now you understand why you're not making it in the business.
Right.
Yeah, of coffee. And then that's where I think if farmers would be able to understand that perspective and understand why it's there and why those yields are so important to them, then that way we can be able to start growing the industry.
Yeah, that's a very interesting perspective. And man, there's so many things to unpack about the coffee market, about how it's grown and traded and purchased. But whatever you guys are doing at the Mukarimu farm is fantastic.
Thank you.
Because this is fantastic coffee. And I'm excited to keep getting it and roasting it, see what next year's harvest is like. So when can we look forward to the 2020 harvest coming around?
So the 2020 harvest for the Mukarimu farm is coming in January.
Okay.
January 2020. That's when we are receiving that coffee.
2021.
Yeah, 2021. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah,
Because
this 2020, I don't know even if it existed.
because for coffee, we harvest it. We remove the seed from the cherry. We dry it. We bag it. Like it's a long
it's a
supply
long
chain.
chain. Yeah,
right now we're still drinking 2018, 2019 coffees everywhere in America.
Yeah.
You know, we're slowly getting our 2020s, even though it's the end of the year.
Yeah, exactly. And
for those who don't understand the long supply chain there.
Yeah, it takes a while because like the coffee that's gonna arrive here in 2021, January 2021, was harvested in June.
Right.
2020.
Right.
So it gets here in 2021.
It usually takes 6 months.
Yeah, it usually takes
fresh harvest.
Yeah, and then the fresh harvest. And for people who did not know, after you harvest coffee and you dry it, you must allow it to rest.
Yes, I know that.
Yeah, you have to let it rest, sometimes in a bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, it rests in there so that it can be able to have those flavors that you really want.
Right.
If you cup coffee, if you have a fresh crop coffee that is too fresh, you won't love it.
No.
And that's me talking from what you've taught me.
We'll talk more about coffee.
Yeah.
So I think that, man, we uncovered a lot of interesting things here. The Mukarimu farm, excited to see this keep on growing. I'm curious if this will be, this business model or kind of this framework has been or will be documented in any way or shared. Is this kind of something that would just work in Kenya, or is this a model that can kind of be expanded to other places?
Yeah, for us, it's like after we've figured it out, and thanks a lot for Mukarimu for being the guinea pig on this one.
Because this started in 2017.
Yes, it started in
2017. Just really coming to fruition.
Yes, and we would like to share it. We would like to share it with anybody who wants to listen, because I think it's a model that would create that vision that we have of that eye to eye.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Best decision making, and you make that conscious decision with intention.
Right.
As a farmer and as a coffee roaster, now we stop playing around with just, with the market dynamics.
Right.
And that would make sense. So I would like to, after this comes out, would like to give it out to other people if it works in the region or wherever you are. If it makes sense.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
I think we need to keep unpacking the Mukarimu story. I am thinking of a clever way to wrap this episode up because I'm thinking here, we need to combine our names or something. The carpenter Kungfu, we got Kagu. Kagu just doesn't sound as cool as Mukarimu.
No, it doesn't. And I wish we could be able just to. Why don't we say Kungfu? Because we've been in China.
Kungfu.
And my name is Kungfu, so we can do a Kungfu kind of
Kungfu. This is the Kungfu boys signing out.
Yeah, signing out.
Working on a new name.
Yeah.